Hello everyone, today I wanted to talk about some tips for how to grind in Xenogears. There are a few different aspects to go over on this subject, so we'll just start with money. Money is always a valuable resource throughout the game. Whether you're looking to upgrade your gears or grab yourself an ether doubler from the sun, you'll need a good amount. In terms of grinding, for anything pre-Kislev, there aren't many great spots to grind, unfortunately. The best bet you have is for a limited time while Ellie is in your party in the Black Moon Forest. If Ellie defeats a Hobgob with her fire spell, they're guaranteed to drop a Hob Stake, which is worth 150 gold. Of course, I don't really recommend doing this, as grinding in the early game is fairly unnecessary, since affording the ether doubler at this point is pretty impractical. That said, things definitely open up once we get through Kislev. After gaining your freedom, you'll be able to get encounters in this section of the overworld. These patches of desert next to the capital of Kislev are a great spot to grind for two reasons. There is an enemy known as the Quadfoot that you can encounter in this region. It only has 20 hit points and drops 500 gold when defeated. On top of that, it also has a 30% chance to drop an extra armor plus 3 and a 30% chance to drop a magnetic coat. While the armor is fairly worthless, the magnetic coats are a very useful accessory on your physical gears. On top of that, once you have more than enough, you'll be able to sell the extras for 2,000 gold apiece. They're usually encountered in groups of 2, and a 30% drop rate is fairly good, so you'll be able to make a lot of money this way. The second main reason that grinding against the Quad Feet is a good plan is due to the 20 hit points as mentioned before. With such low HP, you can easily kill them in a few seconds, meaning you're not trapped in a lengthy battle. Moving on to the next area, once you get through Kislev, the next grinding spot will come up once you progress the story to Shavat. After Maria joins your party, you'll traverse through the Shavat corridors, which are full of monsters that absorb elemental damage. The Forbiddens that you'll encounter here have a 30% chance to drop a gold nugget worth 2,000 gold, and a 10% chance to drop a gold bullion worth 4,000 gold. That said, they can be a bit tricky to take out if you're not equipped properly. If you don't defeat them before they transform, they'll be able to do a lot of damage to you, and they also won't drop anything when defeated. That said, if you make sure to bring an ether doubler for Maria, she'll be able to do quite good damage to them. While they do have 500 HP, they only have 5 ether defense, and with Maria's ether damage being non-elemental, she's a perfect candidate to take them out. Moving on from Shavat, there aren't really many spots to grind through the end of Disc 1. As such, our last method comes up at the end of Disc 2 once you regain control of the overworld. If you defeated the boss of Anima Dungeon 2 instead of running away, you'll have been rewarded with the Trader card. Re-entering Anima 2 with it equipped, as well as Emeralda in the party, you should be able to grind gold very quickly. One of the encounters in this dungeon is the Croaker Tribe, a group of 6 frogs on foot. Emeralda can be used to one-shot this group with one of her AoE spells, and if you have the Trader card equipped on one of your party members, each of those frogs will drop a scale. Scales can be sold for 500 gold apiece at any shop, or 600 if you're willing to travel to Noaton. Since you can easily gather lots of them, I recommend stocking up until you reach around the maximum before traveling to Kislev to turn them in. A full stack of scales is worth almost 60,000 gold, which should be plenty for your endgame unless you really want to deck your gears out at Joe's shop. Moving on from money, I've seen a lot of people talking about grinding levels in this game. I will say that most of the time, grinding levels in Xenogears is unnecessary and a waste of your time. The majority of your combat ability is going to come from your spells, accessories, and deathblows known. While level does factor into spells and deathblows, it still has a fairly small impact. Most of the time, you're going to have the spells and deathblows you need to progress. The only 2 sets of spells that I can think of that I wish came a little bit earlier were Bart's mode spells and Billy's shield spells. Still, it's definitely not worth grinding the EXP to try to get them early. I would highly recommend focusing on your equipment instead. If you're looking for tips on what equipment to use on each character, definitely check out the rest of the combat companion guides on this channel. The final thing you might want to grind in your playthrough of Xenogears are deathblows. In order to show the optimal way to grind these, we need to look a little bit into the code. If you've been paying close attention to your characters in combat, you might have noticed that there are multiple animations tied to the same button to make things flow a bit better visually. However, this isn't just a visual thing. Each animation is considered its own attack, with triangle having 4 variations, square having 2, and cross having 1. Each of these animations has a tracker for each time you've used it throughout the entire game, and each deathblow is unlocked by reaching a certain number of these animations. To put this in context, let's look at a deathblow in practice. Phase Ryujin is executed by doing a square attack, followed by a triangle attack, and finally a cross attack. In terms of animations, this is a square 1, a triangle 2, and a cross. In order to unlock this death blow, you'll need to hit a certain number of the animations with the first square attack, the second triangle attack, and the cross attack. Of course, this can simply be achieved by inputting the death blow before you learn it, which will grant you experience for all 3 of these animations. Alternatively, you could enter square triangle, which would give you 2 hits of each of the first 2 animations. By and large, this is fairly simple, and I recommend just entering the death blows you want to learn in order to unlock them. That said, there are a couple exceptions to this rule. Due to some sloppy coding, the death blows for triangle square triangle X and square triangle X have the same unlock requirements as triangle square X. This means that in order to unlock them, simply entering the combination won't get you far. Of course, this is fairly easy to get around if you know what's going on, but it can be frustrating if you've been entering the combination for a while and still haven't unlocked anything. As far as where you should go to practice death blows, I recommend the same spot as grinding money. I personally like to grind death blows in the patch of desert next to Noatun, as it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. These enemy gears are so weak that it's actually not tough to take them out on foot. With only 20 HP, even if you're only dealing 1 damage per hit, you'll still knock them out fairly quickly. If you're worried about your characters dying, I'd recommend equipping everyone with an evasion ring, or have 1 party member enter their gear. Gear enemies will always target a character in gear over ones on foot, so it's very safe to do so. This method of grinding is great as it gets you some extra cash while you're increasing your combat abilities. If you've been to Shavat and have the wizardry ring, definitely don't forget to equip it. It'll increase the rate at which the equipped character will learn death blows, which is very useful after Shavat, since you'll now have access to the 7 AP death blows. As a side note, I'd recommend making sure that Faye has at least one of his elemental death blows unlocked before progressing to the end of Disc 1. That said, we've covered pretty much everything there is to say about grinding. This game, while being an older RPG, surprisingly doesn't require much grinding at all. On repeat playthroughs, when you know what you're doing, you can actually get through the game without grinding whatsoever. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope I've been able to provide you with some helpful advice. If you're interested in seeing more Xenogears content, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment with the subject you'd like me to cover next. I'll catch you next time.